Placing too much emphasis on anything within the dream can be an error in your mind, because to make anything in the dream real is to make the dream real. This, specifically, is to forget who you are. This is also true about the idea of making healing real. If it is true that you must heal, then it is also true that you are not absolute perfection now, and that is not the case. Spirit took Laurent and me and really started moving us in a new direction pretty quickly. Because again, this is September 29th. We've been together just a little over a month now, not long at all. And of course, one of the ideas is that we came together to heal, which in one way is a helpful idea because it kept our purpose in front of our minds. We understood the purpose of our relationship. When stuff came up, we dealt with it through following Holy Spirit's guidance instead of screaming and shouting at each other and throwing stuff and breaking up. You know, I'm certain, I feel pretty certain when I say this, that most couples would not have made it through the first 3 weeks that Laurent and I experienced. Laurent would have, you know, that most couples, the guy would have left after 3 weeks and that would have been it. So in that way, the idea that we were here for our healing was helpful, because in that way it kept us together. It kept us looking at everything that happened with Holy Spirit. It kept us in a state of openness and readiness and willingness to receive guidance. And it kept us in that willingness to practice. So in that way, the idea that we were together to heal was helpful. But in another way, that idea is not helpful. Because in another way, the idea that I need to heal is synonymous with I am the ego. You see, our true self is perfect. Our true self does not need to heal. And what really Spirit is guiding us to do, although He may give us many tools and practices along the way, what Spirit is really ultimately guiding us to do is to shift our identification. Shift our identification from the ego, the personality, to the true self, which has always been absolute perfection, has never needed any healing, has never needed any purification, right? And so this is really a beginning of Spirit doing that. Although Spirit is going to continue to give us guidance and practices, at the same time Spirit is now turning our eyes from the ego to the true self as I. Right? As I. The true I. Yeah, so keep in mind that we don't need healing. We only need to let go of false identification. That's it. We don't need healing. We do need to let go of false identification. And sometimes we call that healing, right? But it's not really. It's not really. We don't need healing. We just need to let go of false identification. Let go of thinking we're something we're not. So Spirit is beginning that correction in this message. Let me read that first paragraph again. Placing too much emphasis on anything within the dream can be an error in your mind, because to make anything in the dream real is to make the dream real. This specifically is to forget who you are. This is also true about the idea of making healing real. If it is true that you must heal, then it is also true that you are not absolute perfection now. And that is not the case. The best place to stay within the mind is the remembrance that you are the master of the mind now. You are not working towards mastery. That would mean that you are right now somehow less than all that you are. You are master now. You cannot be any less, because you are always all that you are. Now, I felt some resistance to this. In fact, I think I felt some resistance to nearly everything Spirit told us while Laurent and I were together, which means it was the perfect next step for me, right? It wasn't easy. I had to put some work into accepting what Spirit had to say. And I had resistance at that time to the idea that I am the master now, because I really believed I was the wounded puppy who needed to heal. I was so far from anything that I would call master, right? But what I came to see, and what Spirit has already started teaching us in the previous message, and messages before that actually, is that I am the master. Remember, if I am experiencing fear now, I'm not experiencing fear because I'm not the master. I'm not experiencing fear because I'm some weak puppy that needs to be healed. I am experiencing fear because as the master, I chose that experience, and now it is here, right? If I am experiencing unworthiness, it's because as the master, I chose to believe certain thoughts, to allow certain ideas in my mind, and I created that experience, and now I'm experiencing it. So even the experience of being the wounded puppy who needs to be healed, that came about through my natural mastery, right? And Spirit wants us to begin to identify with being the master, because as we begin to identify with being the master, we're preparing ourselves to shift fully into who we are and let go of this ego experience completely, because it's not who we are.